Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here. Hello, everyone. The date of this recording is Wednesday, the 10th of April at 12:25. For those referencing the timings of these articles, hope you're all doing well. I hope you're having a nice weekend. This is the time it will be out for those curious to know about this. We'll be covering various stories on the Israel and Gaza conflict and on the war in Ukraine. So these conflicts have been going on for quite a while. It's entirely possible that within a couple of days, maybe, just maybe, there might be a ceasefire proposed between Israel and Hamas. We know that at the time of this recording, there's still any kind of aid has gone to Ukraine. From America, and it looks likely that that's not going to happen at this time anyway, because they're on recess anyway. So, but when they return from the Easter break, the 2-week break, will anything be done? Will anything change? I'm not quite sure about that, but we'll have to wait and see, you guys. So the first story I want to start is from the Association Press. This is the latest from there. So Biden calls Netanyahu's approach to war against Hamas a mistake. Bit late to say that now, but the approach and the way that Netanyahu's and they have approached this has not been the most ideal fashion in any way, shape, or form. I think everyone can agree that the way this has been conducted by the Israeli Defense Force and under its government has been pretty short of poor, awful, inhumane is another word. So many journalists, so many aid workers who have died. Never mind the 30,000 plus Palestinians that have lost their lives as well. There have been lives have no doubt been lost by Israeli soldiers in this conflict, as well as Hamas fighters. And innocent Israelis have lost their lives, those who were taken by Hamas on October the 7th and those who were slaughtered by Hamas on that horrible day on October the 7th. So there has no doubt, while the bloodshed is more right now on Palestinians and for what has happened to them, this does not take away the fact that lives have been lost on both sides of this conflict. However, since the retaliation by Israel since October the 7th, the approach from the government has been to obliterate and destroy and pretty much wipe out Gaza off the face of the earth. And the world is not blind to this and seeing what is happening. Now, while world leaders may be turning some world leaders have for most of the time have been turning a blind eye to it, general public are seeing what they're seeing, and they can't hide social media. Social media is definitely something that is definitely becoming an issue. Sorry, guys, my light just will not stop flashing in front of me. I don't know why. Apologies. So let's read into this, guys. So, US President Joe Biden says Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's approach to war against Hamas is mistaken. Biden's remarks in a televised interview aired late on Tuesday deepened an already growing rift between the two staunch allies over the war. Now in its 7th month, the disagreements have compounded over the worsening humanitarian crisis in the Gaza Strip. Israelis' expected offensive in the city of Rafah and Israelis' recent strike on a humanitarian convoy, which killed 7 aid workers, most of them foreigners. What he's doing is a mistake. I don't agree with his approach, Biden told US Spanish language broadcaster Univision in an interview conducted on the 3rd of April. 2 days after the strike on the World Central Kitchen aid convoy, he was responding to a question about whether Netanyahu was letting political considerations steer his decision-making in the war. And that has been a question that's been asked, hasn't it? Biden said Israel should agree to a ceasefire, flood brigade Gaza with aid for the next 6 to 8 weeks, and allow regional countries to help distribute the aid. It should be done now, he said. We're all in agreement that more aid needs to come into Gaza. The problem is that Israel, and specifically the IDF, and those who guard the borders, all the borders around the Gaza Strip, from the sea and even from Egypt's border. They're the ones who are making it difficult. They're the ones who are not allowing the aid come in. They are the ones who are making it hard for it, to near to next impossible for that aid to get in. And why? Why are they so keen to stop aid getting in? What is the reason behind this? Why? Is the question. International efforts to broker a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas are taking place in Cairo this week. So by the time you guys see this, there may possibly be a ceasefire. Israeli bombardment and ground offensive in Gaza over the past 6 months have killed at least 33,360 Palestinians and wounded 74,000, Gaza Health Ministry said Tuesday. The ministry doesn't differentiate between civilians and combatants in its tally, but says women and children make up 2/3 of the dead. The war began October the 7th when Hamas, less militant, stormed the southern Israel, killing some 1,200 people, mostly civilians, taking around 250 people hostage. Currently, Austin tells Congress Israel is taking steps to boost aid to Gaza workers as lawmakers question the US support. Turkey and Israel announced trade barriers on each other as relations deteriorate over in Gaza. At the UN court, Germany rejects allegations that it's facing acts of genocide in Gaza. We're going to look into an article in that specifically shortly. And a Moroccan activist was sentenced to 5 years for criticising the country's ties to Israel. Here's some of the other latest here. Iran Supreme Leader Ali al-Khamenei again promised to retaliate against Israel over the killings of Iranian generals in a strike on its consulate in Syria. Khamenei spoke on Wednesday in a prayer ceremony in Tehran celebrating the first day of Eid al-Fitr holiday at the end of the Muslim holy fasting month of Ramadan. He said last week on Iran's consulate in Damascus, widely blamed on Israel, was akin to an attack on Iranian territory. The evil regime must be punished, and it will be punished, he added. Israeli Foreign Minister Israel Katz appeared to respond to posting on social media platform X in both Farsi and Hebrew. If Iran attacks from his territory, Israel will respond and attack from Iran. The strike on the 1st of April killed 12 people, including 7 Iranian Revolutionary Guard members, 4 Syrians, and a Hezbollah militia member. Israel has not acknowledged the involvement at the time of this recording, though it has been bracing for an Iranian response to the attack, which marked a significant escalation in the long-running shadow war. Iran supports anti-Israel militant groups like Hamas, who are battling Israeli forces in the Gaza Strip, as well as the Lebanese Hezbollah. Benjamin, told the war against it in a mistake. Biden's remarks in an interview aired late on Tuesday night deepened an already growing rift between the two staunch allies over the war. Now in its 7th month, those disagreements have compounded over the worsening humanitarian crisis in the Gaza Strip. Israel's expected offensive in the city of Rafah and Israelis' recent strikes on a humanitarian convoy, which killed 7 aid workers, most of them foreign. What he's doing is a mistake. I don't agree with his approach, Biden told US Spanish language Eurovision interview conducted on the 3rd of April, 2 days after the strike on the World Central Aid Kitchen. He responded to questions about whether Netanyahu was letting political considerations steer his decision-making in the war. Let's see. Australian Foreign Minister have criticised for suggesting possible reconciliation of a Palestinian state. Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong is facing criticism after she raised the prospect of Australia recognising a Palestinian state. Wong said in a speech late on Tuesday that recognising Palestinian statehood should be the only way to end the cycle of violence in the Middle East and build a momentum towards a two-state solution amid the ongoing conflict between Palestinians and Israel. She said Wednesday that she wasn't changing Australia's position, but she was starting a conversation. We've made no such decision. The discussion I want to have is look at what is happening in the international community and where there is a very important debate about how we should secure long-lasting peace in the region, which is known for so much conflict, Wong told Australian Broadcasting Corp. Wong said Hamas must free hostages and the militant groups would have no place in the Palestinian state. There would also be no need for a humanitarian ceasefire so that aid could be delivered to Gaza, and she urged Israel not to invade the southern city of Rafah because of the risks to civilians. Both Australia's centre-left party, Labour Party government, and the Conservative opposition party support a two-party solution to the Middle East. But opposition spokesperson on foreign affairs, Simon Brereton, called it downright dangerous to reward Hamas for its October 7th attack on Israel with a fast track to reconciliation. An Israeli airstrike on the home in central Gaza kills 11 people. An Israeli airstrike hit the home in central Gaza on Tuesday evening, killing at least 11 people, including 7 women and children, hospital officials had said. After the strike hit the town, the Zawiya Association press footage showed one man carrying the limp body of a little girl and laying her with the body of other dead children on the floor at the main hospital in nearby Deli al-Badhi. Hospital officials said the dead included 5 children and 2 women. Strike came as Israeli military withdrew its forces from the southern city of Khan Yunis this week, ending a months-long ground assault that left large parts of the city in ruin. Still, airstrikes have continued in the past day, including in Gaza's southernmost city of Rafah, where Israel said it plans to launch its next ground assault. One more story here from AP. Families of hostages held in Gaza have met with US Vice President. Several family members have met with the US Vice President Kamala Harris in the White House on Tuesday and urged for a deal that will release their loved ones and implement a temporary ceasefire in Gaza. Their only hope for peace is through the release of all hostages now, says Jonathan Del Chang, the father of American hostage Sadu Del Chang, one of the potential hostages agreements. Del Chang stressed that the world is waiting for Hamas to get to yes. It is frustrating, all these stories, to say the least. And I'd like to think that we are there. We are almost there. But a part of me also feels like that we are still quite a while away from it as well. I want to believe, guys. I generally want to believe that we are almost there. That a ceasefire is there, and hope and cross fingers. Maybe, just maybe, there may be one. I just personally want the bloodshed to stop, guys. I really, really do. So the next one I've got for you guys is from Middle Eastern Eye. The headline for this one is Gaza's family wins a legal challenge against the Home Office refusal for family union request. Judge deems government department behaviour irrational and unreasonable and in breach of the European Convention on Human Rights. Interesting legal challenge here. I've read this already, but I'm gonna read it again. My assumption, I've not seen the part where it says the UK. I'm assuming this is in the United Kingdom. I could be wrong, but when it says challenge against the Home Office, my assumption is obviously mean that this is in the UK, yeah, with regards to this. But families are being ripped apart, and one of the criticisms that the UK has is that although it has asylums, that there is a legal route for Ukrainians who are fleeing the conflict in the war against Russia. There is a legal route for them to come to the UK if they want to. There is also a legal route for Hong Kong residents if they want to flee Hong Kong to the UK as well. But there is no legal route for Palestinians or those who have relationships with those in the UK to come here. And that's been a topic of discussion that's been taking place in the UK for a while. Why we're not having this discussion, why we're not opening a legal route, and yet we have a legal route in Ukraine and Hong Kong, is a subject for discussion as well. So Palestinian members have won a legal case against the Home Office when an immigration tribunal found that the government's department refusal to consider their reunion application was irrational and unreasonable and breached the European Convention on Human Rights, the ECHR. Judges ruled on Thursday that in favour of two Palestinian families who brought charges against the Home Office in February after it refused requests to decide on visa applications before enrolling biometric data. Existing visa guidelines require applicants to enrol biometric information at a visa application centre before submitting a visa application. As Gaza VAC is closed, the nearest is in Cairo, which is impossible for many Palestinians in Gaza to reach. The families demonstrated have a positive in principle decision and would have assisted them in negotiating the exit via Rafka and travelling to a VAC in Egypt. Via the assistance of the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, the Egyptian authorities, or via bribes paid to Egyptian state-linked agencies that historically facilitate exit from Gaza. Home Office guidance state that biometric requirements can only be deferred in exceptional circumstances, and if the applicants then demonstrate their journey to a visa application centre were unsafe. One of the families referred to as RM and others are parents with two children applying to join their daughter who is studying in the UK. The family are internally displaced and in southern Gaza and living in an overcrowded apartment with no access to water, food and medical treatment are being forced to flee their homes by Israeli bombardment. They reported acute mental distress with one family member facing suicidal and another unable to speak more than a few words. The other family, WM, is a mother of 4 young children who's applying to join her brother, a British citizen living in the UK. The family had been internally displaced twice, initially from their home from the Jabba refugee camp in the northern Gaza, and then from the Al-Majid camp in central Gaza. The problem is it's very hard to... The problem is once they get out, it's going to be like, if this conflict does end, if a ceasefire is approached, the chances of Gazans being able to come back is going to be very difficult. Israel are going to make it very difficult as long as they have control of the Strip. In both cases, the Home Office refused the family's request for a decision on their application without prior provision of biometrics on the basis that their circumstances were not materially different to other people in Gaza, or compelling as to make them exceptional. The court found these decisions to be disproportionate interference with their right to respect their private and family life. But the families still have a long way to go via the visa application process. We must remember that we are 6 months into the current events of what the clients are getting is a decision on their applications, so we have to litigate to a very advanced stage only to get decisions out of the Home Office. Julian Hager, a solicitor for the Islington Law Centre, told MEE Islington Law Centre is active for one of the families in recent litigations, along with migrant law projects at Asylum Aid, who are active for RM and others. From here on, there are additional stages to the process, which include appeals if the applications are refused by the Home Office. It's a long and complex process at a time when what our clients who are in Gaza want and need is to urgently have their request to join their relatives in the UK granted, Heiner said. The courts also found that the Home Office guidance was in breach of Article 8 of the ECHR and the risk of life in Gaza was as such. The Home Office refusal to consider their application would risk nullifying reunification with their families. In the case of RIM, the Home Office refusal to request to reuse biometric data taken from a previous visit to the UK because they had not demonstrated that they are at personal risk need to be made urgent journey, or that such a journey would be made particularly unsafe for them over and above other persons living on the territory. WM was not deemed to be a personal risk despite being a lone mother of small children. Judges concluded that the only rational conclusion would be that they would be personally face dangers as a loathsome woman travelling with 4 young children over and above others making a journey within Gaza to that border, which is itself inherently dangerous. Do you not consider that in the context of the conflict in Gaza, is it necessary for a person to show they are specifically targeted and to be able to establish that they are a risk due to their personal circumstances, Judge Jackson had said. This is an important judgment and wider consequences. We've recognised that the Home Office has adopted policies in breach of Article 8, the ECHR, which it is applying to multiple families seeking to be reunited. Anasunga Sopwa, a solicitor at Asylum Aid, said the Home Office must now adopt a lawful approach to a biometric enrolment requirement so that more families from Gaza and elsewhere are not unlawfully deprived of decisions on their entry clearance applications. The ruling follows a letter signed by almost 60 charities, law firms and organisations, including the Refugee Council, Care for Callus and the Helen Bamber Foundation, calling for the Home Office to urgently create a Ukrainian-style visa scheme for Palestinians to Gaza to protect human life and the right for family unity until it is safe for Palestinians to return. We are relieved for the families who will now have the ability to have their cases properly heard. We hope that their applications will be successful and that they will be able to reunite in the UK soon. Spokesperson for Gaza Family Reunite Campaign, a grassroots collection of Palestinians from Gaza and migrants' rights, have said. Now, this premise that people keep saying, having that our country is full, I'm so sick of hearing that term about it. We have people here who have lived here, who are born here, raised here, who have connections and family in Gaza. From Gaza, and this idea that people want to stay here for the rest of their lives. Some of them do want to go back to rebuild their homeland. Some of them want to go back, but they obviously, understandably, they're in a war zone right now and they need safety. Some of them can't go to another country, or some of them can't get out of that situation. And if they have friends and relatives there, they want to bring them to the UK until at least while they're safe. And then once it is able to be deemed safe, then some of them will go back. But I can also I like this premise that the world that our country is full is nonsense. It really, really is. Here in the UK, it shows just how little compassion people have when they don't think about the situation that others are in. And many others are in these situations, and they need looking after people. It's really, really important. Just because they're coming here doesn't mean they intend to stay here forever. As well, and I think that's an important thing to remember. So the next one I got for you guys is regarding the one we were talking about, Germany's allegations. This one is from Al Jazeera. Make sure I got that on right. The headline is Germany rejects allegations of aiding genocide in Gaza at the ICJ. So Germany's legal team tells the court 98% of arms exports to Israel since October 7th were genuine equipment like vests, helmets and binoculars. So Germany have been supplying equipment to Israel, but they're claiming it's general equipment like vests, helmets and binoculars. So they're saying it's not weapons and arms. Interesting. So Germany has denied accusations that it was aiding genocide in Gaza by selling Israel arms in a case at the top UN court borrowed by Nagorata, a case that reflects a mounting legal action in support of Palestinians. Tanja von Oskar Geisgen, legal advisor of the German Foreign Ministry, told the International Court of Justice, the ICJ, on Tuesday that Nagara's case was rushed based on flimsy evidence and should be thrown out for lack of jurisdiction. Arms exports were scrutinised for inherent to international law, she said. Germany is doing its utmost to live up to its responsibility vis-a-vis both the Israeli and the Palestinian people, she added, with Germany the largest individual donor of humanitarian aid to Palestinians. Von Oskar said that Israelis' security was a priority for Germany given the history of the Nazi discrimination of Jews. Yes, of course, we'll not forget our history here. Germany is one of Israel's biggest military suppliers, sending 326.5 million euros in equipment and weapons since 2023, according to the Economic Ministry data. Berlin has been one of Israel's staunchest supporters since the October 7th attack, led by the Palestinian group Hamas, which governs Gaza, and Israel's subsequent assault on Gaza. Germany and other Western nations have faced street protests, various legal cases, and accusations of hypocrisy from campaign groups who say Israel has killed too many Palestinian civilians in its 6-month assault. At least 1,139 people were killed in the Hamas-led attack on Israel on October 7th, according to an Al Jazeera tally based on Israeli statistics. At least 33,360 people have been killed and 75,993 others were wounded in Israeli attacks on Gaza since then, according to Palestinian authorities. A lawyer for Germany, Christian Tams, told the courts that since October the 7th, 98% of arms exports to Israel were general equipment like vests, helmets, and binoculars. And in 4 cases where war weapons were exported were approved, he said 3 cornered arms were unsuitable for use in combat and meant for training. So they're claiming that they did send weapons, but those weapons were not used in the actual war. This is the case that Germany are making. Whether you agree to disagree, this is their case. Lawyers for Nagorno have asked the ICJ to order Germany to halt arms sales to Israel and resume funding for the United Nations Relief and Work Agency for Palestine Refugees, the UNRWA. It's important to remind people about the UNRWA that funding has not just been freezed for at the time of this recording. The funding is still freezed for both America and the United Kingdom, as well as several other Western nations have freezed the funding for the United Nations Relief Agency. And the reason they did it is because Israel had claimed that members working for the UNRWA had aided Hamas in its October 7th attack. Now, as of right, and still to this time, since that accusation, there's been no evidence shown by Israel that confirms it, despite the fact that those who were accused lost their jobs on the spot by the UNRWA. The UNRWA carried out an investigation, but despite the fact, and its investigation, as far as I'm aware, has not concluded, despite all these actions taken by the UNRWA, despite the accusations that Israel have made and no evidence to show support for it, the United Kingdom, United States, Germany and others have suspended their aid to the UNRWA, which does vital and important work that saves the lives of many, many Palestinians within inside the Gaza Strip. And it's very difficult for them to do so when aid is being halted. They should also bear in mind that Israel has never had a very good history with the UNRWA as well. I think it's important to emphasize as well. They argue that Berlin had violated the 1948 Genocide Convention and international law by supplying Israel while aware there is a risk of genocide. After Tuesday's hearing, Nicaraguan Ambassador Carlos Alago told journalists that the case of this preliminary stage does not hinge at the amount of Germany's military aid, but simply its existence. An ICJ ruling in the Nicaragua's requested emergency measures is expected in weeks. A federal judgment on the merits of the case is expected to take years, and the court has no power to enforce it. In January, in response to accusations from South Africa, the ICJ ruled that claims Israel violated some rights guaranteed under the Genocide Convention were plausible and called for a halt any potential act of genocide. And the UK and several other nations could be complicit in genocide as well as Germany, but we will have to wait and see on that. This conflict is not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. Even if a ceasefire is called, even if a ceasefire is called, there is still much work to be done. There is still many lives have been destroyed, many homes have been destroyed. So much blood has been spilled. So many innocent lives have been lost, and it will take a long time, if ever, for any kind of relationship to be established again. There is so much animosity and hatred between the two sides, given the long history, long before October the 7th as well. So there is a history here that people obviously, some people just assume everything all started on October the 7th. No, this has been going on long before then. And I'd like to think that a ceasefire will come, and we continue to hope and pray for one as well. But cross fingers, hopefully, maybe by the time you guys are seeing this, maybe there will be one. Just to break a little bit of the ice here, Ollie is here. See if I can do it without muting my mic. Yeah. This is Ollie, the octopus here, and the lava lamp. Nearly muted my mic there. See, I'm very skeptical of that. Almost screwed it up. yeah, if you can get your own, you can have your own custom emojis of them in the YouTube. By being a YouTube member for as little as 99p, guys, you can get access to those custom emojis of Ollie happy, Ollie sad, the lava lamp, and the orb. And other ways you can financially support me in the work I do here is by joining me on Patreon for exclusive content there as well, or buying me a coffee. Links for them are in the description. Anyone who does so, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. Before we switch over to the conflict in Ukraine, gonna have a little funny video for you guys to kind of break the ice a little bit. Some of you may have seen this video, some of you may not have seen this video, but it's a really funny one to kind of break the ice, just having a bit of fun here. So I hope you guys enjoyed this this video.
I'm here live with BJ News at the hate march. Everyone's brown and it smells. Let's go interview Hamas. Excuse me, how long have you been a human shield?
5 years.
5 years, thank you very much. Why do you hate all Jews? Because you're here at a pro-Palestine march.
I don't hate all Jews.
Liar, she's lying!
Zionism is okay. Zionism, no way.
Is he taking the piss? Look, even the children are mad. Look how angry this Hamas baby is.
Ceasefire now!
Why should we call for a ceasefire when all of this started on October 7th?
Because it didn't start on October 7th.
I fucking hate this place.
Palestine.
He means Israel. He means Israel, 100%. Why are you asking for an armistice on Armistice Day?
Because it's important.
Yeah, but isn't that disrespectful?
I don't think so.
Well, why don't you go back to your own country if you don't like it?
I'm English.
Right, delete that, delete that. Find a brown person, quick.
A witch, Swella, you're a witch. Oh, Swella, you're a witch.
Unacceptable. Brown people shouting Hamas chants in the streets. What do you think of shit?
Rishi.
What do you think of Rishi?
Shit.
Thank you.
That's all right.
We hate Rishi. We hate Rishi. We hate Rishi. Oh, I've been looking for you all day. Wait, when are you going to stop this hate march, this rabble? When you agree that they're absolutely tearing down the city?
No.
I like him. He's one of us. Thank you for keeping us safe, sir. I appreciate you. Thank you, bro. Thank you for keeping us safe.
Very good. It's only about, I've not seen it anywhere else. It's only available on Twitter, that clip. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was a nice little breakup one, guys. A breakup of this terrible ordeal, guys. Guys, if you haven't already, please hit the like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing because it really does help support the channel. Thank you for everyone who has done so. It is greatly appreciated. Right, Ukraine. Let's talk about Ukraine, guys. So, first one we have here from you is from the Kyiv Post. We will look at the Kyiv Independent and some of the latest news here on Wednesday as well. So we'll go through that as well. But we'll start with this one first. So this headline is the final version of mobilization bill approved. Ukrainian soldiers are not happy about it. So in the draft law on mobilization, according to military personnel, there is neither a maximum term of service nor quantitative responsibility for evaders. So this is one of the things that's recently been happened is that President Zelensky has changed the conscription age of soldiers from 25 to 23. Now, there has been, I've seen some counter arguments for and against this. Now, one of the counter arguments is that they shouldn't be forcing young people into the war. It's not good, it's not ideal, it's not right for them to be forced into this war. One of the other counter arguments is that, well, Ukraine don't have enough bodies right now and they need all the help they can get. And we're not going to, at the time of this recording, there doesn't appear to be any while there's going to be equipment and weapons sent to Ukraine from the likes of Europe to help them out. What they need is more bodies. And while Macron, French President Macron, paused on the idea of French troops support going on the ground in Ukraine, he kind of had to back off on it. And kind of some other lots of nations have kind of backed off on that idea as well. Because if they did, they obviously dragged their own countries into this war as well. So my position is that while I understand why people would not want the conscription age to reduce, we're talking about the country's future is at stake here. Now, some people say this war is over. It's not over. It's not over. Yes, Ukraine are losing ground. There's no question Ukraine are losing ground right now. And yes, they do need that aid from America. There's no question about that. But I do think lowering the conscription is necessary. And if people want to fight for this country, if Ukrainians want to fight for this country, if they believe in this country, and he wants to do everything they can to protect it, then they should consider signing up. And men and women who can fight, go and fight, and help this battle. Because I do think, but there's also the other part of people have been asking, what about ceasefire? When are we going to have a ceasefire? We're going to talk about a ceasefire here. I think there is also that as well. There is also that talk, the talk of that as my position has kind of changed over time. Originally, I don't think that they should give up any territory, but I'm slowly kind of tuning to the idea of perhaps maybe they should. Perhaps call for negotiate some kind of ceasefire deal. But at the same time, even if they did, what's to stop Putin coming back later on to try and seize more territory? And this is the fear. This is the fear that if they allow Putin to keep the territory that he has, what's to stop him trying to claim more territory later on down the road? This is the fear that people have. So let's read into this. So the Committee of the Veronika Rafka of Ukraine on National Security and Defence has prepared the final version of the bill on mobilisation in the second reading. The wrote lawmaker Oleksiy Hoko on Facebook. According to him, the final version has several positive provisions incorporated, such as demobilisation after capture and demobilisation of people with disabilities, as well as several bonuses for contractors when issue consumer looms. However, at the same time, the rule on demobilisation after 36 months of service disappears from the final version. Let me remind you that this law is considered in the committee for 2 months in order to completely remove key provisions, in particular demobilisation, wrote Honor Charlesco. The military members who have been serving since 2022 were waiting for this provision, wrote the DPSU officer Muskim Noskovo. This is a disaster. How could it be possible to promote demobilisation to soldiers from December 2023, only to abandon them at the end? You can't take away hope from soldiers when they return home, Noskovo wrote on Facebook. Also, some military members were not pleased with a lack of criminal liability for evasion and mobilisation in the draft law, but only administrative penalties for evaders. On mobilisation, there are neither serious sanctions for evaders nor serious preferences for newly mobilised in any draft law. There will not be any exception results. An influx of new fighters, posted Yuri Gomelenko, a junior reserve sergeant at the Army Force of Ukraine, the AFU, and a politician on Facebook. Ukrainska Praska reports that the provision on demobilisation was excluded from the draft law at the instance of the head of the committee, Oskar Sarsky. While the provisions may be passed in a separate bill, military service personnel interviewed by the Kyiv Post distrust such an initiative. Instead, deputy from the Service of the People, Palihola Kopkin, said the most important thing is that there will be a new law on mobilisation, even if it does not satisfy the interest of everyone. Clearly, it's not going to satisfy everyone, this draft. Scandalous, controversial, bold, all these definitions fit, but one thing is for sure, it is necessary to preserve the future of the country, Koptin wrote on Facebook. People's Deputy Yosklis Youngavatska wrote on Telegram that today, April the 10th, the rejected amended of the few deputies will be considered, and a vote in the second reading will probably take place on the 11th. So the second reading will take place by the time you guys see this. So it is one of discussion about the mobilisation of the forces of Ukraine, and one that's not really going to be going away anytime soon. That is for sure. I will say, obviously, that they have to get more people in. There's absolutely no question. They need to get more Ukrainians in, and obviously we will agree to disagree about how they do that. But I think it is vital that they do that. So an interesting one here from The Guardian here. This is regarding ties from the UK. So David Cameron has seemingly failed in a bid to persuade Trump on Ukraine aid. So one of the biggest barriers to in the conflict right now has been getting aid from the US to Ukraine. And this is down to Republicans and their refusal to budge on the issue. In a trip to Mar-a-Lago, British Foreign Secretary urged the ex-president to recognise US interest in not rewarding Putin for a land seizure. So David Cameron attempted to persuade Donald Trump to permit the US Congress to push through $60 billion in military aid for Ukraine, a appears to have failed after the British Foreign Secretary was not even granted a meeting with Congressional Speaker Mike Johnson, who could in theory put the package to a vote. So they wouldn't even let him speak to Mike Johnson. Johnson instead found himself assisted by the hard-right Georgina Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who renewed her threats for a snap vote to remove him from office for even condescending a vote. At a private dinner in Trump's Florida base in Mar-a-Lago, Cameron had urged Trump to recognize what was in the US interest that Vladimir Putin not be rewarded for seizing land from Ukraine. He also insisted that by the time of a NATO summit in Washington in July, plans would be in place for every NATO member to reach or pass a target of defense spending. He was hoping Trump would signal a change of course, at least by easing the path for him to meeting Johnson. At a joint press conference in Washington on Tuesday, Cameron and the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken repeated their long-standing appeals for Congress to unblock the assistance. Cameron insisted he had not come to the U.S. to lecture anyone on interfering with internal American politics, but said he was prepared to drop the dialogue spec because he felt so emotional about the need for the U.S. and Europe to stand together to defend Ukraine against Russian aggression. He warned future generations may look back at us and said, well, did we do enough when this country was invaded by a dictator trying to redraw boundaries by force? Did we learn lessons from history, and did we do enough? But Cameron's arguments, both rational and emotional, seem to have run up against a continued power struggle inside the Republican Party, as hardliners who are called on continuing to support the Ukraine financially threaten to oust Johnson if he puts the aid package to a vote when Congress returns from its 2-week vacation. This has been a complete and total surrender to, if not complete and total lockdown with, the Democrats' agenda that has angered our Republican base, so much that it's given them very little reason to vote for a Republican House majority. Taylor Greene wrote in a fresh attack on Johnson. Cameron is the latest in a string of foreign government officials who have called for the US Senate to vote on the aid package, which is widely expected to be passed. If Congress was allowed to vote, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Sunday that Ukraine would lose its battle with Russia without further US aid, including necessary money to develop aid defences. This really does hang on by it. This is why the longer this goes on, the worse it gets for them. Cameron took a calculated risk in flying to Florida to try to persuade Trump to change course, since there is a history of disagreement over Brexit, which the former Prime Minister opposed. But Trump enthusiastically supported. Cameron defended his meeting with Trump as an entirely proper encounter with opposition figures and said it covered a range of important geopolitical subjects. I'm sure he asked him on them subjects and Trump said no. Trump campaign said the issues discussed at the dinner were the upcoming US and UK elections, policy matters specific to Brexit, the need for NATO countries to meet their defence spending requirements, and ending the killing in Ukraine. Trump's foreign policy advisor have claimed that if elected president, Trump would be able to end the war within 24 hours by making territorial concessions to Russia, including citing Russia's permanent control of Crimea and the Donbass, terms that the West would regard as a reward for aggression that would be noticed by Iran and China. And this is exactly it. Yeah, you're going to be giving into their demands, giving into his demands, and you're going to allow him to get away with it. No one wants that. No one needs that. We face a huge threat from an aggressive Putin taking our country's territory by force, and it is so important that we stick together. The great lessons from NATO celebrating the 75th anniversary this year is that if we stick together, if we work together, we can create a more secure Europe, but also a more secure US. The Foreign Secretary added, I say this as someone who doesn't just like and respect America, but someone who loves his country. I mean, of course, I love my own country more than ever. But do I love the United States? I feel passionate about this country, its role in the world. I try to keep the diplomatic language, but sometimes it spills over to an emotional language because it's the right thing to do. He insisted the American aid package is worth $60 billion was a great value to money since around 5% of the US defense budget, almost half of Russia's pre-war military equipment, has been destroyed without a loss of single American life. It is really this aid budget. Like I said, the longer it's held off, the harder it's going to be. The harder it's going to be for Ukraine. It's just one that just keeps dragging on and on and on. And hopefully, the sooner it sort out, the better, guys, because it is a major issue. That is for sure. So we're going to have a look now at the Kyiv Independent and see some of the stories that are taking place there now. Oh, this one did not come up. So just give me 1 second. So the first one here, guys, has come down from Russian attack in Kala Oblast, kills child and injures 3 civilians. So Russia struck Lvivsky, Malodiska and Vukovic in the Kharkiv Oblast, killing a child and injuring at least three people. Kharkiv Oblast Governor Shoros Oskars reported on April the 10th. So they've always been targeting the Kharkiv Oblast. I've reported it on several occasions in short videos for you guys. They're always targeting that area. And it's always terrible when someone loses their life, and especially they've lost a child who's been sadly lost their life. The air raid alarm sounded around 1:30 local time while Ukrainian air forces reported a Russian attack by guided aerial bombs against the Kharkiv Oblast. The governor said that to the local shop and pharmacy caught fire due to attacks on Lipsky and Malodavskivka. People could be trapped under the rubble, Sholovaskos had reported. As of around 2:45 local time, it was reported that a 14-year-old girl was killed. At least 2 people were injured in Lipsky. The wounded victims included a 33-year-old female employee at a pharmacy and a 16-year-old boy. Russia also reportedly launched 2 guided aerial bombs at Voskis, including a 34-year-old man who was hospitalized with a shrapnel wound. The local health center in Voskis was destroyed due to the attack, the governor said. Russia recently intensified its attacks on Kharkiv and Kharkiv Oblast and causing severe damage to local infrastructure and inflicting civilian casualties. On the 9th of April, Russian forces struck a civilian enterprise in downtown Kharkiv with aerial guided bombs, injuring 3 people there. This one here, UK Defence Ministry, Russia aims to recruit 400,000 contract service personnel in 2024. So they're obviously conscripting Russia and conscripting more Russian soldiers to the front line here. The UK are reporting here. So Russia will seek to recruit an additional 400,000 contract service personnel in 2024 to sustain its forces in Ukraine after severe losses in the all-out war, according to UK Defence Ministry intelligence report on the 10th of April. This step aims to support Russia's plans to increase the size of its force to 1.32 million personnel this year and 1.5 million subsequently, the report read. Ukraine's military intelligence said earlier that Russia is likely to ramp up its mobilization efforts after Russian President Vladimir Putin secured his 5th term in office in March. President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Russia was planning to mobilize an additional 300,000 soldiers by June the 1st, later clarifying that this number may not be the final draft. As Russia continues its conscription campaign, around 150,000 soldiers between age 18 to 30 will be conscripted this spring, which is consistent with the numbers conscripted previously, according to the UK Defence Ministry. Newly recruited soldiers will serve for 12 months in all branches, and Russia's armed forces, the Ukraine Defence Ministry, said they are currently appointing to conduct combat missions in Ukraine. Conscripts are employed in garrisons across Russia, and they are generally formed battalions separate from the battalions staffed by contract soldiers. Some of the conscripts are likely to serve near Ukraine's state border in units providing border security, the report said. According to the UK Defence Ministry assessment, Russian troops in Ukraine are staffed with contract soldiers and some reservists mobilised in late 2022. The conscript soldiers commodities face pressure to sign contracts to become liable to serve in Ukraine. However, there is some reluctance among Russian authorities to risk combat casualties among conscript soldiers, which are likely to be unpopular, the UK Defence Ministry's intelligence said. Casualties among volunteer soldiers are more tolerated by society. Any losses of life is really really horrible. This one here, Russian Defense Ministry said an Mi-24 helicopter crashes off Crimea. What happened here, guys? So, Russian Mi-24 helicopter crashed into the Black Sea off the coast of Crimea. Russian state-controlled news agent NI Nosky reported, citing the Russian Defense Ministry. The news came hours after the Ukrainian Navy reported that a Russian Ka-27 helicopter had crashed over Crimea. The Mi-24 allegedly crashed while performing a scheduled flight over the Black Sea near the western coast of the Crimean Peninsula. RIA Nosky quoted a Russian Defense Ministry statement. The primary cause of the crash was an aircraft failure, they had claimed. So it wasn't some kind of attack or anything there. RIA Nosky said that the search and rescue teams are at the scene, but provided no details about whether the crew survived. Ukrainian Navy spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said the Ka-24 helicopter apparently fell out of the air due to an explosion on board. We can say that the helicopter fell. We have information that this disaster was predicted by an explosion. This means that the crash did not happen simply due to technical reasons, but something happened on board, Peskov has said. Early on the 10th, the Ukrainian General Staff reported that Russia had lost 325 helicopters since the start of the full-scale invasion. Yes, it has lost quite a lot there as well. I'm just seeing any other We talked about that already. EU to provide legal aid to Moldova there. And I think, yeah, that's all I've got there at the moment from the Kyiv Independent. Now, there are some other stories, but it's not directly related to the conflict in Russia, just for references, guys. So we're going to wrap things up with the deep state map for you guys. If you haven't already, please hit the like button, be greatly appreciated, and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. If you do, you'll make Ollie very, very happy there. I would touch the microphone, but I'm paranoid about muting myself again. The lava lamp has not formed, but the orb is there in all its glory, guys. So if you want to support Ollie, make him a happy bunny, any kind of memberships, super chats, all that stuff, guys, really does help support the work that I do here. So let's have a look at the deep state map. Give me 1 second while I just get it up for you guys. So this is the deep state map. This is the update on this, just for reference, is the 9th of Wednesday, the 9th of April at sorry, not Wednesday, Tuesday, the 9th of April. Apologies. This is the last update on this map at 21:39. So it's the latest here on the current schedule. I'm going to scroll it back a few days here to see if we can see any movement in the widescreen. You can see tiny little bits of movement, but nothing really too big. But there is some some clashes here. Going to zoom in a bit here now. Oh, screen's going gone a bit too far in here. Give me 1 moment. So looks like some potential movements here. Let's pull it back from a couple of days ago. So they have been making some ground here in the first month. And actually, I just noticed here. I'm just going to check this again. Is there been some kind of pushback or some sorts? So it looks like there was a little bit of argy-bargy taking place here outside of Veriska and Noskarika there. There's been some slight engagements here in, if we can move a little bit closer here, Marinka here. There has been slight movements and engagements obviously here. This is where they've been pushing here, mostly in the center here. Obviously, here's where they've made the most ground, obviously, ever since they took the city of Avika here. So if I pull this back here, you can see that just on the last day or so, they've really made some ground here. If you're just going back from several days ago, guys, you can see they've really made ground here. I'm just pulling it from as the days have gone past. Clearly, the day before, they've really made some gains there. Here, down here, without a shadow of a doubt, they are pushing there. Let's see, Buckmart here. Just going to pull it back a couple of days to see. Yeah, they've been since the start of the month, they've made some progress here in Chuskovar here. Did they take? They didn't take the whole of Chuskovar, have they? Chuskivar there. No, but they are trying to push engagement into there. They are trying to make grounds in there as well. Just to see if there's any other progress here. There doesn't appear to be too much movement here up the north. Very little to no movement up here. There may be a little bit of engagement, but not too much there, shall we say. And of course, there's not really going to be much here while the Daimo River, but there obviously are missile attacks and Strucknots across the river, obviously, but that's keeping. It appears here. Oh, it looks like here. It looks like they may be trying some engagements here, maybe, but can't really do anything across the pond here from the looks of it. But no, it doesn't appear to be anything there, guys. So that is the update for the deep state map, guys. Obviously, they are slowly edging to lose ground. And obviously, Ukraine need that aid from America soon. And obviously, they need to get that. They need to get more bodies out, Ukraine, without a shadow of a doubt, and try and hold positions Clearly, since they gave up Avika, Ukraine has been gaining ground, and that is without a doubt a cause for concern and one that needs to be dealt with as soon as possible. The sooner the better, obviously, guys. So hopefully Ukraine will get some assistance, but we will continue to keep an up to date on it. I will try and drop some shorts. Continue to drop some shorts on Israel and Gaza whenever I can on the short feeds, but if not, obviously, I'll try to keep update as much as I can, guys, as much as I possibly can. But I do sometimes do some videos on Rumble on Israel and Gaza as well, so you can always check out content there, guys. So, what did you guys make of this episode of the Snowflake conflicts? First time I've done one. I'm not sure if I'm going to do another one of these two conflicts next week. It depends. Obviously, it is recorded quite a few days in advance as well, so a lot of things can change between now and then. But let me know what you guys think of it in the comment section down below. If you found it informative, if you found it helpful, what do you think of some of the stories? What do you guys think of the actual conflict so far? And the situations that both Ukraine and Russia are in with regards to their conflict, with what Israel is with its engagements with Hamas and the things that is taking place with inside the Gaza Strip. Let me know what you guys think about both those comments in the comments section down below. Did you find it interesting today and informative? No, Ollie's not in a good mood. He's not keen on it, but maybe some of you guys are. But before you go, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. It'd be greatly appreciated. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video, and subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further and financially support me in the work I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content there as well. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.